Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the faithless. There has been a lot of talk about people bringing up the concept of simulation theory and how the reality that we exist in may be a artificial overlay, or it may be some type of program that's running and our consciousness is just part of this program that's in it. And some people are even so far-fetched with their theories, saying that our biological component that our consciousness came from may have been dead hundreds of years ago, and we're in this machine and it's running over and over and over. I call this show Faithless because all of these concepts, they come from rich people. They come from people who work in the scientific community, and most of these people have no spiritual base. They're not connected to their higher being. And the funny thing about all this is that when nobody takes the concept of the Mandela effect serious until you start talking about things related to scripture. And so it's funny because in the Quran and in Islam, there are imams that teach the importance of memorizing the Quran. And the reason why they teach this is because jinn, or these demon spirits, are allowed to travel back into time and change things, but they can't change your memory. But if you have your holy book memorized, then everybody around you has a memory of this holy book being a certain way.
That's deep.
It's always copied over and over and over based on its collective memory.
What was the term in Africa for the guy that would remember?
The griot, the storyteller.
Yeah. So if what you're saying is true, then the griot takes on a much higher significance, because that'll be the person that keeps the history. There's a reason that we didn't write shit down in Africa, and that might be the reason right there. You have the ability to, if these jinn can travel back and change shit, then it's much more important that you have the griot, the storyteller. You know, and they're passing those stories down.
The oral record of history.
The oral record can't be changed if history can be altered, written, because that's another thing that we discuss when we discuss, like, the Jews. The Jews have been controlling media for years. They've been writing it down when other people weren't. They were like, okay,
but see, let's do this for a second. So this whole idea of a simulation is the idea of a program that's running. And there's probably many iterations of this program that these people believe. This is a thought experiment we're running here. So in this program, there's things you can modify and you can change. Now, of course, the Mandela effect works for that, but it can also work for our reality, our mental, spiritual, and physical reality, right? The mind, body, and spirit reality that we exist in. So in the mind, body, spirit reality, it's easy to go back into a temporal timeline and move a refrigerator to the left, or turn the TV channel to the next channel, or light the fireplace at a certain time of day. Make these small adjustments that could just alter and create ripples in a temporal timeline, right? So that's fine. Those are things that are not hard to imagine. But when you put yourself into a box and you say, then I am just a non-player character in somebody else's video game,
yep,
then what you're doing is you're nesting all of your potential into a box. And you are saying, I claim myself as non-sovereign and a victim, and I can be manipulated at anyone's choosing. You give away your sovereignty.
Yeah, what you're saying is reality affects me, but I cannot affect reality. Mm-hmm. You're literally turning off your godhood,
because in my experience, it's been the opposite. I affect my reality. There are things that I can say, there are thoughts that I can have. The entire way that I conduct myself will affect the outcome of my existence. Now, the person who is hard science and married to materialism will tell you, oh, well, that's because you're just a player in this game, and you're just choosing different levels, and you're choosing different weapons, and you're choosing different vehicles to move around in.
Well, they're telling you choice is an illusion. That's how they manipulate you.
Right. But see, okay, it's real easy for demons to whisper in your ear and tell you that one thing is happening. When you have been taught orally for thousands of years that there
You
are
get deep.
beings that hate your mere existence,
You're getting
and
deep.
they want to erase you. They want to enslave you because you are the favored ones and they are not.
Let the church say amen.
Amen.
What you're saying is so profound is that like literally certain people that can control the written media, like say you go back in time, you change something. Well, now when I read it, that is their argument. It's right there in writing. How you stated it didn't go that way. And I'm sitting there, um, everything from Luke, I am your father, to the Monopoly guy having a monocle. There are certain things you remember from your childhood, and they're telling me that it's not
The
that
Fruit of the
way.
Looms cornucopia.
But their proof is something in writing. Which, going back, he said that you can alter written manuscripts in the past, and they'll look different now. Which, like I said, some profound shit. So basically,
But
you're
so,
saying
but check this out. So then, let's stay with just the Mandela effect for a second. A concept that works in both paradigms. Okay, so if you change something in the past, then the future, there's no evidence of that in the future. But if
except your
everybody,
memory,
yes,
except your
yes, yes,
memory.
but you are a vessel. Don't forget that. You
Yeah,
are a
yeah,
vessel that is
traveling through time.
composed of mind, body, and spirit energy. Okay? So this vessel contains cellular memory, reflexive muscular memory, spiritual memory, a natal memories, right? From being in your mother's womb. All these things are in you. Now, that's the dope thing about DNA because it stores all this stuff, right? It's the actual hard copy of experiential data. That's what DNA is. That's how dope our creation is. But check this out. So we carry all this with us. So even though you're telling me this scene in this movie went this way, I have this memory of watching this movie in the theater with my dad, and this is what was said. And matter of fact, up until maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, this was how it was remembered by everyone around me. So everyone around me carry this in their DNA until the timeline was split and people from this newer reality or this newer version bled into my existence. Man, I'm telling you, like, the Piccolo player's a motherfucker. Like, the game is afoot.
But the thing is, this is why it's important that you communicate and don't. I don't want to say don't have self doubt, but like when we talk about the past, like, hey man, I don't remember going that way. Well, I remember this, and then you sit there and talk. You're not trying to corroborate and change the past. You're trying to recall a memory. Like, hey, we went here on this day and we saw this movie, and we saw such and such together. We saw The Lion King. That is a common shared experience. No matter what they do,
Because there were events that happened before and after we saw that movie.
yes.
And the moment you tell me, no, this didn't happen, I'm like, ah, fuck, they got to him. You know what I'm saying? Like, this things
That's
that
how you
happened that
feel.
day, and I'm like, yeah, man, we went to that bookstore and Weapon X, and I'm like, no, we didn't. I'm like, what the fuck you talking about, dude? Wait a minute. Yes, we did. And I remember everything about that store. And then I remember what we ate that day. So then it's like, nah, man, those hamburgers. I'm like, bruh, you out of your fucking mind. It was Jamaican beef patties. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like that, those are temporal timestamps that have become part of your DNA cellular memory.
It's a placeholder. Is how you mark.
It's a
Okay,
genetic
yeah.
placeholder.
Uh, Look, I get people might not get what we're saying, so let's slow it down. Here's the deal. People love to talk about simulations because it's their way of saying that they have scientific power, but they don't have spiritual power. So what they're doing is basing everything on science, even though it can't be proven. Even though science does change, because they're telling science is a definite. No, even when it comes to math, you have approximations. So what they're trying to do is convince you that they're more legitimate than you are. That's all this shit is. and it makes them feel better about themselves. Like, oh, I'm not in charge, but I can do. No, it's a hustle, and the whole simulation idea, it it's meant to scare you out of having faith. And look, I don't really use that term believe all that often because I told you I think believe is some bullshit. It's be and lie put together. But what you got to understand is that you have knowledge of something. I have knowledge of God. I have knowledge of spirituality. I don't believe in spirituality. I have faith. I know this is going to happen. This is the Bible says faith is evidence of things not seen, substance of things not seen, evidence of things hoped for, whatever, some shit. That's in the Bible. They're telling you that faith gives validity or makes something tangible that's not tangible for other people. So yeah, don't let people scare you. Don't have them thinking that this Matrix thing that you can't control or that some TV show is a reality. You know, that's
Dude,
the whole
I
problem.
remember we were having this conversation in the 6th grade, and we there was one kid. He was very churchy, you know, and we were talking about somehow the conversation came to end times and, you know, the end of the world and all this stuff. And this kid, he couldn't be swayed. Like, no matter what we were talking about, and like, you know, I think it was something. No. There was a TV show about Nostradamus. This is how the conversation come up. They came up. There was a TV show about Nostradamus that everybody had watched, and it talked about nuclear war and like the end of civilization. And they're like, you know, some people are like, "Yo, it's crazy, right?" And he was the one person in class that was like, "Nah, we ain't got to worry about nothing." He was like, God got our back. He said, because
Period.
he's like, we have everlasting life. We have souls. He said, this earthly life will end, of course. He said, but life will continue. And I thought that was pretty dope, you know, when he said that. This was in the 6th grade we were having this conversation.
I think the reason it came up, remember the TV show? It was like a mini special the day after. It was like a 2-part mini special, a 3-part mini special.
About the nuclear war and the fallout. And because it happened, in the movie, it happened in Kansas. And it showed what the fallout was going to be and like how people would like live. And that movie was depressing as shit.
I didn't watch it.
I did. I watched
ABC or ABC?
I think it was ABC. Carol Schrader came on the fucking news. She was like, listen, do not show this movie to your children. It was so fucking funny. She was like, don't let your kids watch this movie. And she was like, it's depressing. And I actually appreciate the fact she kept it 100 like that. Carol Schrader was thorough back in the day.
But on the flip side, it's the same like the Orson Welles thing in The World of Worlds. There are certain things that aren't meant for children. But that's the thing.
Right, Orson Welles was narrating on this TV show for Nostradamus, which is so funny and shit.
But when my mom explained that situation to me, she's like, "That the reason they keep getting him is because this motherfucker caused a panic." he basically did a radio show. Is sharp. Yeah, she said, "See, that's why they always get him for certain shows." I'm like, "Mom, what do you mean?" She's like, "Yeah." She said,
"He's it was like the shit starter."
Yeah,
he was trolling. This was like one of the oldest forms documented of fucking mass trolling.
Look, when he did that radio show, War of the Worlds, he did it on the radio, and people, if you tuned in,
they fucking lost their shit.
They tuned in 5 minutes late, and they missed the beginning of it, and they think it's a newscast. You got motherfuckers really thinking it's a newscast. And my mom was breaking that shit down to me. She said, people lost their mind. They started getting guns, driving off, you know, beating people up, raping people and shit. Like, hey, it's my last day on earth. I'm gonna give you some pussy, you know. And so it makes, I don't want to say it makes sense, but the idea that it's a simulation early on, that right there, like, what that means is that you could overlay a new program or a new history or a new direction over some shit like that. That's what this simulation shit you got to worry about, because these motherfuckers think they can do this shit. They think they're entitled or they're powerful, and like, because you have a religious. I just remember one of the first things you learn in sociology class in college is the religion is a tool used by the bourgeoisie to control the proletariat. And so I always had to explain to folks, that's a European point of view. You got to be careful about that shit. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, well, in African spirituality, religion is a tool to achieve a higher form of spirituality. It's a way for you to meet the higher one, and you work your way up to these different levels. But in Europe, they're more worried about control. You're dealing with people who care about a monarchy more than they care about the people. So of course they would use religion as a way to manipulate you. So I said you can't mix it. Native Americans, they have a faith-based system, but it's not about controlling people. So people in these other places, they're not about controlling individuals in such a manner. But Europe is.
Okay,
So
check this out. In American culture, young people do not have a rite of passage.
oh yeah, we talked. Oh yeah,
So
we used to.
there's no rite of passage. There's no there's fewer and fewer spiritual ceremonies. There's almost zero spiritual ceremonies. I mean, if you want to have a spiritual ceremony, you have to go out to a reservation in Indian territory, and if you know somebody there, and if you're lucky, they will let you into a sweat lodge, or you may have a tribe that is part of a peyote church, and you can have a spiritual ceremony that's guided. Here's the thing. So these ceremonies, they guide you into the higher realms and help you to become more acclimated with the spirit world.
I think we have these ceremonies, but we downplay them so much, and we say they're hokey now. I got baptized at 12, or I was also in Boy Scouts. All these different things, they're vision
Okay,
quests.
but hold on. This is what I'm saying though. A real vision quest is psychedelic, and you are going through something that is supernatural. Now, Africa has that. Native Americans have that. People in the South America, they have that. That doesn't exist in Europe. That doesn't exist in whatchamacallit, in America. Now, it did exist with the Greeks, but the Greeks would eat mushrooms, and they would take,
Or
they would eat ergot, you know what I'm saying, which is like
yeah,
LSD.
yeah, yep.
And
But
so,
don't forget, they also inhale shit. Remember, they would inhale fumes also.
yes, but
They
here's the thing though, but these are the Greeks that were cover themselves in animals' blood and dance naked around the fire before they were whitewashed and put into white togas by the Europeans that were interested in Greek culture. So you got to understand that Greek culture was cleaned up by white Europeans.
But
So
also Muslims and Islam, them motherfucking Arabs wrote down the Greek culture also. They
yeah,
stole that as their own. This is such a long conversation. Look, what I'm trying to say is, I think we do have a few rituals. I think we do have certain things that are rites of passage. But now kids don't believe in the shit, and I think kids are introduced to adult concepts way too soon. And so when you have that happening, it discredits all the
check
teaching
this
and
out.
learnable.
Check this out, man. As I got into high school, and then when I was in my 20s and college and stuff, um, I would be around a lot of different types of people with different backgrounds, and
College is a motherfucker.
well, not just college, man. Like just around the music business and
Yeah, I know. You travel
weed
too. You
weed
travel.
smoking
Yeah,
circles and shit like that, and the
a
people,
cipher.
yeah, the people that you would come around and see, and there would always be somebody trying to guide the way that everybody is thinking, like a thought leader. And I've come across some bullshit thought leaders, and I have, called people on their bullshit and realized, oh, these people ain't for me. This ain't my tribe, man. And I've learned that, several times, like, oh, these motherfuckers ain't my tribe. These just motherfuckers I'm buying some weed from. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are not my folks. And what I've come across is people of lesser knowledge attempting to lead me astray. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. And here's why. And then I start breaking shit down. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is good for you, but this ain't good for me. So I need to separate myself from this bullshit, or just keep this interaction restricted to exactly what it is, a transactional thing, and just move the fuck on. But what happens, what this represents is what I see happening to people in mass. How people who don't have faith attempt to explain away reality. And they want to explain away things that can't be explained vocally, right? Or hard to contextualize or make into concepts. So then when you get these people that are attempting to explain things that you have known in the spirit word or in your spirit life, they want to call it something else and put their own word on it. The same way these colonizers would come to Africa, and they would pick up these roots and these fruits from the jungle, and they're trying to call it one thing and they want to use it for something else. And the Bushman walks up and like, this is for healing the body. You know what I mean? Like, and this has been known to these people for a long time. But you want to come along and call it something else and say it's for this, that, and the third. And I'm like, dude, it's not broke. Why are you trying to fix it? And so I see these people trying to fix something that ain't broke over and over and over again. And my father used to say, it's like, you got to let a dummy be a dummy. And if a person does not...
That sounds so cruel, but it's not.
Right.
No, really, it sounds mean, but it's not. Some people will learn by doing. Some people will never learn. They can bump their head 19 times. All they're going to do is get a concussion. Mm-hmm. They're not going to learn. Mm-hmm. So, and also, when you're trying to... You're literally trying to fight somebody from doing some shit that their mind's made up to do.
I remember I was eating dinner at a white friend's house one time, and I was sitting in the living room just minding my business, and her brother, who doesn't even know the smell of vagina, does not get laid at all. He comes in, he sits down, he has his wolf-looking dog next to him, and somehow we start talking, and the conversation gets on beatboxing. And I was joking, and I said, it'd be a trip if Michael Winslow battled Rozelle from the Roots. And this motherfucker begins to try and educate me on beatbox. I said, stop. I really don't give a shit about what you know about hip-hop culture. There isn't a thing that you can teach me about hip-hop culture. So stop right there, okay? You're overzealous. You're doing too much right now. I told him this shit. I said, I don't care. You're doing too much, man. I said, you need a girlfriend because you're too high strung. You know what I'm saying? Like, you walk around with a fucking wolf. Okay, that's a problem. All right, you dress like a fucking dork. That's a problem. But the biggest problem is that you're trying to tell me about my culture that I grew up in. I grew up breakdancing in the street, battling kids from the other side of the park. You know what I'm saying? I grew up DJing. I was taught to DJ by another legit DJ. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about scratching. I learned how to scratch Richard Pryor records over a Houdini beat. You know what I'm saying? I was taught that by a legit DJ. So the fact that you're trying to come in here and tell me about hip hop, kick rocks, man. Just stop right now, because you have no idea who the fuck I am. And that happens over and over and over and over to people on a large scale. You know, Elon Musk is running around telling people, we're going to put computers in your head. No, you're not. No, you're not, man. That stupid shit is going to work on these people who are early adopters, but it ain't going to work on people with fucking sense. I'm not saying common sense. People who got some sense, right? You know, you can tell me, there's a big possibility that reality is a simulation. Why? Because you said so? Dude, go smoke some DMT. Go do some ayahuasca in the jungle. Eat 7 to 10 grams of mushrooms and tell me if you still think that. Go to a fucking sweat lodge and eat some peyote and fucking throw your guts up and tell me if you still think that. I don't have the patience for these people telling me, oh, there's now that humanity is going to fork into people who are going to be the Molai, the Eloi, and the Morlocks, like the Time Machine H.G. Wells story. What people don't tell you is that H.G. Wells was a eugenicist. This motherfucker who wrote this book, The Time Machine, which is a very interesting story, very entertaining, but he had this idea of supremacy, and he put it in all of his fucking stories. You just have to know where to spot it and how to call it out.
But
hold on. But then people take this shit as canon. Like, this is the way that it is. This is our reality. This is the truth. No, it ain't, man.
People can't separate entertainment from reality anymore. You know, I remember we were kids and they were trying to ban cartoons and they wanted to ban like Bugs Bunny because it was too violent. You know, I'm like, okay, nigga, I'm not gonna drop an anvil on anybody's head. Where the fuck do you get an anvil from?
Bingo.
But that's the whole
Dude, there
thing
were
is
kids in the backyard jumping off the roof on other kids because they saw that shit on fucking wrestling. Did that stop wrestling? No.
no.
Look, everybody trying to nerf the world, stop that. Stop it. Because
Putting helmets on everything.
no,
Bro.
all you doing is making them soft so that when they go overseas and they got to fight a real motherfucker that grew up with nothing, and your soft ass, your moist ass who grew up coddled will not be prepared, and you'll be fucking shell shocked trying to deal with this basic ass shit that they know is life.
Look, the whole thing that people run away from is let's talk about something really deep. If you want to make people stronger, you put obstacles in their way, okay? Instead, they make the world easier. And the more you make the world easier, you're making people weaker and more dependent on the government. Don't get me wrong, racism is bad. Racism is a terrible, terrible thing. But guess what? It made black people stronger, intellectually and physically. How many black inventions were invented during slavery when you could not read, you could not write? How many black athletes and people came out of these difficult situations? Why do you think we kept having black heavyweight champions in the world? Because they went through some shit. So what I'm saying is that, yeah, stop making the world easier. Now, should the world be fair? Yes, you should not be able to get shit out of a job because you're black. You should not be fucked out of a job because you're gay. You should not be fucked out of a job because you're a woman. Yes, I agree with those things. But as for giving somebody preferential treatment or something else, that's the whole thing. That's where it gets kind of complicated. And if that person's qualified, they should have the job. But if that person ain't qualified, I remember I was in high school and they were trying to get more female firemen, and they had this female firefighter. She was actually fine as hell. Had a black one and a white one, and they were a little bit muscular. And she's like, "No, do not make the test easier just so you can get female, because you're going to kill somebody because of that. If you get a woman out there and she can't lift 220 pounds and get somebody out of a building, what the fuck is the purpose?" She's going off on these people. I get it. You want more female firefighters, but you got to have firefighters that can do the job. They have to be able to lift a certain amount. A woman has to pass the same test as a man to be a firefighter. Do not dumb down the test. And that's what we're doing. We're dumbing down the test because nobody's passing. We're making it easier for them to pass. That's not how life is. And that's not how life works. And this whole simulation thing is just a code word for, well, in the simulation, you'll be farther along. You'll have a bigger house in this simulation. That's
them bullshit. Running game on you. And that's another thing, man, is that, most street people can call bullshit when they see it right away. And they can see a hustle coming right away. When people start talking about, this is a simulation and this is set up and you're in this, and I'm like, you're trying to put everything into a box because you want to be the one putting the lid on that box. So for example, it's so easy to pull all types of crazy occult dark shit over on people who A, have no spirituality, and B, are just ignorant and naive. So there was this party that was had in Hollywood, I think like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And there was this YouTube or influencer that was a part of this. And she went to this party, and the party was being hosted by this actress, Bella Thorne, I think. Yeah. And she was making everybody prick their thumbs and give blood to enter into this party. And I'm like, oh, that's magic. That's all magic. You're drawing blood. So you're drawing blood from these people because you want to get power. So this is all because, okay, once you give somebody your blood, I'm not talking about donating blood. I'm talking about part of a magic ritual. Then any type
can't trust donated blood either, bro.
Right, exactly. But any type of spell that you want to cast is going to work on you because now they have your genetic information. See, there's a science part of it. So now, whatever they're going to be trying to sway you with will work because you're an active participant. You were a willing participant because you gave them your blood. And there was also a murder right before the party started on a road nearby. So, okay, so then they had their blood sacrifice. And then everybody going to the party gives some of their blood. Oh, this is some fucking Roman Caligula fucking sex blood party type shit. This is blood sex magic
Too
type
many
shit.
coincidences. Too many
Mm-hmm.
coincidences. You mean
Yes.
tell me somebody was murdered about a mile or two away? I don't know exact numbers. Please don't take it out of context. But I'm like that's one hell of a coincidence.
Right.
And another thing, one of the hardest parts when you talk about racism and power dynamics and things like that is it's hard to explain to people that sex is a big part of racism and power. And it's one thing when people have free will and you're equal. You can't get a woman or a man to do some crazy shit. But if you're poor or you're broke or you were snatched up because you were an orphan or that kind of person comes up missing, nobody cares. That that's the part. You having this lower level of society, it gives you a pool to draw people from. Look, if you don't believe me, what was the one thing that Jeffrey Dahmer was looking for? A sex slave. He was doing lobotomies on the motherfuckers. He's trying to create him a sex. That's what a lot of these motherfuckers, sick ass rich people are trying to do, is create just okay. I can get rid of this person. It didn't make it made the news barely. But what about that Democratic senator in California that got caught with them, killed them two black dudes, and got caught trying to kill the third one? And that shit didn't really go. That story didn't really go anywhere.
That was in D.C.
No, there's one in Cali also. Um, this one, he was on his third victim, and that guy got away. Well, what happened with the guy in D.C.? Forgive me for not knowing. What happened to the guy in D.C.? Was it similar?
Same fucking thing. Same type of setup. It was some gay prostitute shit. And, the gay prostitutes didn't know they're going to be part of some fucking sex ritual.
And
And
they end up dead.
they end up
Two of them were
dead.
dead. Yeah. And so the point we're making is that the reason these rich elite are saying is assimilation is so they don't feel bad or they have no repercussions on what they're doing. They're killing kids. They're killing people. They're doing some fucked up shit. They're ruling over people in a very unhealthy way. They don't care about getting your health care. Or they got us arguing over issues like abortion and everything else while they take our children. It's some fucked up shit.
Yeah, it's like,
Um,
everybody's tripping on this whole Dahmer thing. And, like, they're making a big deal out of him. Like, that dude's a gay devil worshiper. I'm not impressed. Okay? I'm not impressed. That's that's what it is.
I think the issue. See, another problem with me being 47 is that so many of these movies and things are coming out with we live through. Like somebody asked me, one of my kids a long time ago when the Biggie movie came out, "Are you gonna watch that?" No, I lived it. I
Yeah.
know how it ends.
That's the funny thing is like, you know, okay, that movie I didn't really care to watch it. Be honest with you. And
I
then
did.
and
Did
then listen,
had no.
no, and it's not because I'm a Tupac fan.
Oh
No,
no, I
I
know.
didn't watch the
No, no.
Tupac movie either. Look,
It,
look, 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 look. When Tupac was shooting white cops undercover that was fucking with his brother in Atlanta outside of Prince's nightclub, dude, I was around for shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember
whew,
hearing this shit. I was like, man, that motherfucker's the real deal. Like he's cool as fuck. And I was like, that's that. I like that dude, man. I remember hearing this shit. I
I
was
fucks
like,
with
I
him.
like that. I
I
fuck
fucks with
with
that
him.
nigga.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
fucks with him. Look,
So
look.
I don't need to. I don't need to watch that movie. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I'm good. I'm good. Like just tell me what you
So
think about it.
look. Here's a conversation me and my wife had because she was watching that Dahmer movie. She was also watching the Tyson movie. I said, "Babe, you got to be careful watching that shit. Mike doesn't want you watching it." She's like, "Nigga, you don't know Mike." I know, but there's reasons for this. So the point I'm trying to make about the Dahmer, we all knew about Jeffrey Dahmer, not just because it was happening, but every black comedian talked about that nigga. He was like, he's eating niggas, and so you would watch a comedy show like Def Comedy Jam, then you would run and like read the headlines, or you would run and watch. And the point I'm making is that we lived that shit. We literally lived it, and there's nothing glamorous about it. I get them people were fucked over, and some of that stuff we do remember. I do remember them supposed to like put up a building or a memorial. That shit never happened. So I, I'm not saying it's hard to watch. I mean, I've watched movies that about like Bundy and shit like that because I like serial killers. We all like that shit. But for something about this Dahmer one, it just don't sit right with me. and I can't explain it. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be
I just don't
toxic or
give a
whatever.
shit. I don't care.
I think the fact we don't care is because, like I said,
It's
we knew everything
because
there
it's
was to know.
because they are turning like the public into one big death cult. That's what it
Dude,
is, man. It's like they're worshiping death, and you can put, death all over the place. You can add all this profanity into TV shows. I mean, I'm shocked the word fuck is like on so many fucking shows now. I'm like, wow, like this is crazy.
let's talk about that death cult shit because I told you this. Me and you had a talk one time. I have a friend. His son went to jail. Her son went to jail for murder. Um, Guess what? He got acquitted, but we'll discuss that later. So when the guy he supposedly killed or the cousin or whatever, somebody killed his cousin. He was allegedly killed somebody else. He did not do it. Um, so it goes to when you go on Facebook, the dead guy. There's all these comments. They're all commenting on his Facebook. It's not, hey, I miss you, homie. Rest in peace. No, it's like, why did you leave without me? We're supposed to die together. This is men and women. This is boys and girls. Like, how the fuck do you die before me? I was supposed to die first. Crazy, crazy shit. And she's telling me all this shit. She's like, you wouldn't believe some of these. I'm like, yeah, try me. She's telling me like these motherfuckers. Like, how did you die first? How did you beat me?
Because
It's
because these are young people, and
I get, yes,
but
very
see,
much, yes.
but what's funny is that there's this part in your life where you're impressionable. And it's normally in the earliest parts of your life, between 4 and 9 years old. You hear the term thrown out, young and impressionable. But by the time you get like 13, 14, beyond that, like beyond those years, like you're pretty much hardwired as to like, what you don't like, what's bullshit to you, what's truth to you. And that, the truth part begins to expand, over time. Or excuse me, it begins to shrink over time. And the bullshit begins to expand, right? So these people that you're referring to are older than this age group, and they're still impressionable. They're still thinking that is the way of life. For example, that's why gangs are populated with very young people. And that's why they refer to OGs as like, somebody who's made it, because either that person, survived and they didn't get killed, or they went to jail. The other ones are either dead or they figured out, you know what? I'm good on that shit. I've grown the fuck out of that shit. I ain't living like that no more.
It's so important to get a hold of people early. And sometimes we see this shit in gangs, and we see it in other things. We can understand it there, but how come we don't understand it when it comes to this education system and people like Henry Ford and the fact that they co-opted our education system so early? We're brainwashed very early on, and it's just I don't know how do I say this shit without sounding stupid. um, they get a hold of you so early. And there's some concepts that are drummed into your head. Christopher Columbus this and that, and you recite the shit. And then you get older, you realize, hey, that's some crap. But there's some people who don't grow out of it. There's some people who don't recognize that, hey, we were fucked with. There's some people who don't, like, they drink that Kool-Aid to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough one to deal with. And so then if you speak up, you're called crazy. And look, Kanye is an idiot when it comes to some shit, but when he's speaking up and they're fucking with Kyrie, and you're like, what the hell? Like, I thought we were free. Nope, you're only free if you don't talk about certain people.
Mm-hmm.
You're only free until, and that's why that Second Amendment is so important. Because when you talk about the Second Amendment, people don't get what it's for. It's not for hunting. It's not for skeet shooting. It's not for entertainment. It's because that if you have freedom of press, freedom of religion, freedom of all
When
this other
people
stuff,
see guns, they pause. And
it
what
really
I'm
does.
saying about that is that they pause mentally before they pause physically. Because a gun will make you take people very serious. When you see a
That's deep.
gun on a person's hip or under their arm, you like, oh, this person means business. No matter who it is, no matter how much money they make, this person means business. This person has a line. And if you cross that line, guns will get drawn. And what that represents is a last bastion
A threat of
of
violence changes things.
it represents a last bastion of seriousness. You're only going to push me so far. You're only going to push me so far. Either you A, going to need backup, or A, you won't leave this place. Or B,
See,
you
okay,
won't leave this place.
okay, you're saying some deep shit. So Roscoe, let me say this.
I'm
So
talking
when
about
you,
some old West shit, man. I'm talking about.
oh
I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I'm going.
I'm
Hold
going.
it, I'm
Listen,
going
I'm
there.
going back to feudal Japan. I'm going back to the age of swords.
No, I'm going there. So how come if you watch it, like say we watch 15 movies, if you if somebody's getting serious, a gangster or somebody's going to rob you or whatever, they pull out a gun, but they never show you the movies where you have the common person fighting against the government because they went too far. They'll show you in the courtroom, but they ain't gonna show you like, hey, get
No,
off my
but they'll show
property.
you George Washington fighting
Yes,
against the British oppression.
or you know, it, it, I saw this article. The longest standoff was like 15, 16 years. So this guy goes to court. He has a gun on him, and they say you can't have guns anymore. He's like, okay, whatever. He goes on his property, and they go to get him, and him and his grandkids basically hold these people off. And the cops come back later on, he holds them off again. So they basically they thought they would starve these people out and shut the electricity off to the property. They were survivalists. So finally, after so many years, it's like in Indiana, they dismissed it. After 17 years, they dismissed it because they said we're not going on there. This is a minor infraction. It's not worth us getting killed over. That shows you that having guns makes the government your bitch.
Ruby Ridge.
There's so many cases of that stuff. The problem is like David Koresh. Whenever you see these compound situations, I'm not saying the guy didn't do it, but they're always banging the little girls and they have like multiple kids. Are you telling me that every single time somebody is put in charge, they do the same behavior, or are you muddying the waters? So when we kill this guy, you don't feel bad about it because we've seen it with
That
black
part.
coats. I see. The problem is I hate the pedophilia shit, and so I don't. I'm hoping, but in my mind, like that's the quickest way to sit here and mess up somebody's credibility. That's the quickest way to put some shit out there where you like, oh man, this guy deserves it. This guy needs to die. And they did it with David Koresh. Again, I won't say they did it with. If he did the shit, he should, he deserves whatever he got. But if he didn't do the shit, and you guys are just making that shit up, and that's also why I have this problem with these religious cults because they always have somebody. Well, I can have more than one wife, and they're
Dude,
doing.
Nexium was a sex cult. Nexium was a sex cult that had all types of people, including Dalai Lama, signing off on this shit because they're like, we're empowering women and this and that. No, you're not. You branding them and you're fucking them. That's what you're doing, man.
But that's also the hardest part. When I tell you, when you try to explain to a woman that they are a minority. I got a situation at work where I'm trying to explain, hey, you're a minority. That they're doing you wrong because of this. It's because I'm white. I'm like, are you fucking genius? You're already a minority. You're a woman. And you try to explain to somebody like they will a white woman will not see that angle. You can't make them understand that
Because
they're a
she's
minority,
white.
and you can't make her understand that she's been brainwashed early on. Like some of these people were brainwashed by their dads and their grandfathers and their uncles. Like a woman ain't supposed to do this. The company's going to look out for you. Like literally they're brainwashed from.
Oh, you talking about the indoctrination.
And that's the part I meant about when you got people like funding the education system like Henry Ford and J.P. Morgan. And
Yeah, but see, the thing is, Henry Ford ain't like Jews either. He
oh,
bought a whole newspaper so we could talk about how much he hated the Jews. Oh, him and
yes.
Kanye would have a lot to talk about.
But it's not about hating the Jews. It's about the fact that I can't even talk about them. It's not about that. It's about the fact that you can't even criticize somebody. That's how you know who's in power. The person you cannot criticize is in power. And they got it set up that if you even criticize, and it's either true or it's not. Either I'm special or I'm not. Either I'm tall or I'm short. You can't even speak about it. And so that's why, look, the point of this episode is simulations. And when we talk about this shit, it's hard to make you understand that some people put shit in place and they're in control and they're like, damn, that's fucked up. This is not real. You can't stop me from talking. Yes, you can. You'll take my money. You'll fuck up my way of life. People won't talk to me anymore. And the Muslims for a while had it like that when they remember who that Salman Rushdie or Satanic Verses. Remember when he wrote that book and he was talking about Muslims, or that one lady, she would pay to have draw pictures of Muhammad or Allah or whatever, and those Muslims, like, the Muslims were doing the physical shit. These Jews, they take your money. They take your residence. They take your, so that shows you that people are not afraid of physical stuff. They're more afraid of their way of life being altered. That's some sick shit, y'all.
Right. But a lot of this is manipulation for sure. But the easiest people to manipulate are the people that don't have any faith. But see, people wonder why, why are blacks so strong? It's because they're genetically this way. And I'm like, no, man, it's because of spirituality, like spirit and the soul and believing in something. Like, even if you take a man and you try and crush him all the way down into the mud, he's going to be singing the whole way. He is going to have knowledge of self, enough of it to know that if he dies in this struggle, that he will carry on in the hereafter.
Or how about, what if he doesn't die? What if you can't kill that motherfucker? Well, we've seen that shit where, like, guys they shouldn't have made it. A chick should have been dead, and they had something to focus on,
right,
and it pulled them through.
Exactly. These extreme circumstances that people make it through, and they're like, it's because I believed. It's because I knew that I would be okay. That I knew I had somebody watching over me. That part right there. Yo, like, let's just fucking say it, okay? Just fucking say it, man. Like, if you are a Christian in these times, it is so discouraged to talk about God, to talk about Jesus. People always want to discourage that
they changed whole movies. What was that movie where the guy was stranded on the island? He gets off. The true story was he uses faith. He got off by faith. But in the movie, they have him at church, but they don't say God or Christian. It was so, like, you're killing the story.
Are you talking about Castaway?
No. It's more recent. It was one of these. They changed you read the story, you're like, oh man, it's gonna be a good movie. And then I'm sitting there like, they're in church, but they don't. I don't know if it's Catholic, it's like straight non-denominational. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yes, we have a cross up there, but we also have a box next to it. Like, what?
No, I mean, like, it's cool if it's non-denominational. Those people are still giving praise. I mean, whatever.
No. I get that, but you miss what I'm saying is that this person was what he was, and his faith is what guided him through the situation. But in the movie, they got real weird, and they didn't want to show.
You notice how people always want to talk shit about Christianity, but they don't go hard on Islam that much. If they do, it's about women and like the clothes they wear, and the way they treat women. But that's where they stop. They don't start talking shit about Muhammad. They don't do that
because I told you
because the Muslims don't play that shit.
They will kill you. See, people don't kill you over Jesus.
No, see, that's not true. That
Down
is not
south
true.
They will. Down south they will.
Ask some Jesuits about that shit. Yeah, a lot of motherfuckers got rolled up.
Yeah, Knights Templar, nigga. Look. What we're saying is that some kind of way, this is how they brainwash black people into this nonviolent bullshit. And what they sit here and do is they create this situation where if you're violent, you've already lost. You're the bad one. No, I'm not. This guy violated me. This woman violated me. These people violated me. I have a right to protect myself. I have a right to take back, my property or my whatever. And so that's how they get.
Also, it's hardwired into these religions themselves because Islam is about justice and war, and Christianity is all about love. So, and turn the other cheek. So, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? You're going to do me dirty. That's fine. I still forgive you. But that's why these people can talk shit about Christianity. They can talk shit about Jesus. But those motherfuckers do not want that Islamic smoke. They don't want it.
Nope. And even like the black Muslims over here, that marching shit, hey, the motherfuckers over in the Middle East, they don't march anywhere. Not without their gun anywhere.
You had Arab Spring, you know what I'm saying? But that was a little different.
Look, here's the deal. What we're saying is that religion should not be used to stop you from taking care of yourself or protecting yourself. I get the spirituality part, but these people love to have a situation where
But see, with spirituality, okay, by just claiming spirituality, what that allows you to do, that allows you to be the the politically correct version of all that. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to shove my religion down your throat, but you're not going to crush my spirit. You know, that is one way of seeing it, because they can't go after you if you're a spiritual person. Because like, oh, what is your religion? I'm not talking about religion. I'm not saying you need to eat this day on this day and you got to, like, dress in the wool of a lamb on the fifth day. I'm not saying none of that bullshit. I'm saying that you will not tell me that I don't have a spirit. You're not going to tell me that. You're not going to tell me that or you're not going to tell me what I can do with my spiritual energy, or, and how I compose myself and how I think about myself as a being of light and love and energy. You have no jurisdiction there, but in the thought space, in the science space, they want to tell you, oh, well, reality, we've broken it down so far, and it appears that reality is actually composed of bits and chunks, and I'm like, you just made this shit up. These are words you made up. Bits, dude. That's a term from the fucking old west.
you know what? People are they're more worried about sounding smart than being smart. They want to be able to impress. They want to hit you with, yes, this dialectical finger roll in the octagon of, you're not even saying shit. Like, if you actually, like, and that's the biggest thing. People want to sound smart, but they don't want to be smart. They don't want to execute. Intelligence is a physical activity, and protecting yourself is a part of intelligence. Stopping somebody from violating you is a part of intelligence. But these people are more worried about using big words and, hey, the febrile equinox is on Thursday. Are you guys going to attend that party? Like, nah, that's some worshiping shit. That's some bullshit. No, I'm not doing that. And so, like I said, people worship intellect, but they don't worship actual smart or wise or, stuff that really matters. But they want to, yeah, Elon Musk, yeah, that guy right there, he's real smart. Well, what did he do that's smart? I thought the guy was a little autistic myself. That motherfucker's weird. You like Elon Musk? I think he's a bit of a dipshit. That shit. Like, I'm going by his actions.
But how many Elon Musks have you known in your life? I've known a bunch of them. I've known many iterations of Elon Musk. Or if we want to keep the joke in line with the theme, different simulations or iterations of the Elon simulation. Met a bunch of them.
I get it. These guys are not as smart as you. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example of what opened my eyes. So I'm taking a test. We're in junior high, so we're in like eighth grade. And this guy sitting next to me, he was just so smart. He was getting straight A's. Man, so I'm next to him doing my math. I look over. It was science class. I'm lying. I was in science class. I look over. This dude was cheating, and he had the shit written on his arm. He was cheating, and I'm like, dude, I looked up to you. So that changed my reality. Before was a simulation. I thought this motherfucker was intelligent. He wasn't. I'm sure. I don't know how smart he was or how much he cheated, but I just know on those two tests I sat next to. I'm like, this motherfucker is cheating, and all I know is that I don't know if I felt smarter or better or what, but I felt misled. Like, man, I really thought this nigga knew what he's talking about. White dude got me, completely got me, and that just tells you that how easily intelligence is not real. I told this girl, I said, you're intelligent. Like, you can recite some shit you read, but you're not smart. What does that mean? You can't apply it. You cannot make it so. You cannot bring it into reality. You cannot take that information, then create something. You are limited. And at best, I don't want to call you dumb, but we all knew people that was book smart, but wasn't streets. That shit. Yeah, I can recite some shit, but I can't do anything with that information.
But therein lies the danger, because you're dealing with these book smart ass people that really ain't got a lick of fucking sense. For example, this FTX cryptocurrency
Yep.
fiasco that
Situation.
happened recently. It was run by a guy who was running a cult, who grew up in a cult and started his own cult. And
Hurt people hurt people. Go ahead.
that's what I'm telling you and then you have these people who are living in this penthouse on this island in the Bahamas, and they're totally drinking his Kool-Aid. And these people that he's promising 8% return on their investment right away. I'm like, dude, you can't promise shit like that because it's not sustainable. Like, you can't sustain those type of profits long term and think you're gonna have exponential growth. It's not gonna fucking happen, dude. And what happened? This shit fucking crashed because it was meant to crash, because the entire thing was a fucking psyop. The entire thing was built to fucking crash, to be used as a cautionary tale that why you shouldn't trust crypto. And it was created by the big money boys. And I'm like, oh no, it was so organic. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. This guy was a plant. They sought him out and found him, and they found a person that they could manipulate, because this motherfucker was on the spectrum, right? Which means that, okay, to push this guy and to manipulate this guy would actually work because he's not balanced the way another person is mentally.
Or he doesn't have a conscience either. That's why they don't feel bad robbing and stealing from people.
Right.
The other part.
But the problem is people like that think they're so fucking smart. They don't think that they can be manipulated. But dude, he got manipulated by people who built the manipulation castle. You know what I'm saying? Who wrote the playbook.
Well, you saw the other part of that whole thing was they were funneling that money to the Democratic Party through.
Not surprised at all.
Oh damn it! Where they having the damn war at? I want to say Chechnya,
Ukraine.
Ukraine. So yeah, all that shit was through the Ukraine bank and all this crazy shit. So whoa, but that's the part we're talking about. That's that part where okay, this is smart. Not
right.
always.
But see, okay, I follow a lot of this stuff, a lot of this crypto movements and trends, and you have a lot of these true believer Kool-Aid drinkers in that sphere. You have these people that I'm talking about who don't have any faith, who don't believe in anything except science, who can be manipulated because they're unbalanced. And really, that's what this conversation is about, is if you live an unbalanced life, it's not hard to tip you over. If you are a faithless person, it's easy to hustle you because you can't, your compass is broke. You can't see the hustle coming. You have no connection to the force. You have no connection to your intuition because you're told, oh, that's not real. But meanwhile, your intuition has been talking to you your whole fucking life and you're not listening. It's that dog that's barking in the back room because he wants to go out and take a piss. But then you walk into the back room and there's piss and shit all over the place, and then you punish the dog. The dog is telling you, hey man, let me outside so I can go take a piss. I need to take a shit. Let me out of here. But because you're tone deaf, you don't know how to listen for stuff like that. Anyway, look, this conversation is about how not to get duped, about how the world that we live in is leaning so far into tech and so far away from spirituality that you can't see that occult techniques are being used against you to put you into a box, to steal your essence, to actually help you buy your own coffin and go to the hardware store and buy the nails and the hammer so they can seal that coffin shut with you still inside of it. But you'll be okay because you have an LCD screen on the inside of that coffin, and you'll be fed an IV drip, and then your consciousness will be uploaded when your body withers and life support shuts off.
Look, stop thinking because you don't understand something. It's good because that's what it is right now. Hey, I can't explain this shit to you, but they made money in crypto. That's the hustle. Like literally,
and the crazy part about this shit is like some of this stuff in crypto is so arcane. You have to look it up.
It's backwards. It's actually going backwards.
It's so inside baseball. Like Like, for example, burning crypto tokens. Like, what? Why do you want to burn crypto tokens? Oh, it just means that you make them dead so nobody else can use them and you can't use them. I don't understand. The whole point of buying those because it's an investment. Why would I want to burn an investment? Like, what the fuck are you talking about, man?
But that's the whole thing, is that they're not making sense. But the reason they don't have to make sense is because they're telling you is because this is some intelligent shit. You're not smart enough to get it, and that's the hustle. And the reason we're bringing this shit up is that that's how they're manipulating people. That's how they're sucking you in. Is they're telling you that.
And then like, so now the narrative is that music NFTs are not investments. Like, well, hold on, because the narrative 6 months ago is that music NFTs are investments.
You buy them, they're gonna appreciate.
Yeah. So which one is it? And then, like, you see people that say, well, I bought this for a 0.25 ETH, which is like $300. And then now this is worth $4,500, $600. And like, yeah, that's an investment that did appreciate. So this all perception here. You know what I'm saying? This is gamification. This is about turning reality into a video game and making you think that you're in a game. And then it gets reinforced by billionaires who telling you that you are in a game.
This is a simulation.
It's a hustle. No, what that is fallen angels whispering in your ear, trying to fucking talk shit about you and make you realize that, make you think that your spirit isn't as precious as it is, and that you should just sell that thing and give away your rights and completely submit.
And look, going back to the Jinn, you said they can go through time, they can alter the past. It's up to us to recognize that shit. And stop doubting yourself just because you got a bunch. Oh, no, that's not right. That's not right. That's the hustle. You got people, because they're rich, they're more valid. Because Elon Musk has billions of dollars, he's smarter than you or better than you. No, he's not. And Bill Gates is manipulating. Same thing with Bezos. The reason they're so rich is because they manipulated the governments in these small countries, and they got tax breaks. Yeah, they're not rich because they were good, sound businessmen. No, they manipulated the situation. And the whole thing is, like I said, for them, it is a simulation. They can lay it over another one, go to another country and try it again and do this. And yes, that's bullshit. That's not right. That is actually the cruelest thing of all. It's a cruel joke. So don't fall for it. Please stop.
Listen, when you're hearing people talking about this reality is a simulation and this is not real, learn to question bullshit like that. Because when you hear that, what is your spirit telling you? What has all of your experience in the spirit life told you? What is the dreams about your ancestors and your parents and your friends that have died, and you communicating with them? Because that's not a dream. You have the Aborigines who talk about how there's dream time, and how in dream time, that's the real life and this is a dream. That's cool, but that's a spiritual perspective. You know what I'm saying? And that's actually pretty dope. And then there's dream yoga, which teaches you how to manipulate your dreams and then manipulate your reality. That is being done from a spiritual perspective. Look, we can go on and on talking about how they're trying to run a hustle on you, but bottom line, that's what they're doing. They're hustling you. All right. That's all I got. We out. Peace.
Holla back.